The ship called the Olive Branch moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was not a beautiful ship. It was not a fast ship. Captain Park stood at the main window and watched the massive space station grow larger ahead of them. The station belonged to the Galactic Confederation, a group of over 200 alien species who controlled most of the known galaxy. Was a small woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She had commanded ships for 20 years, but today her hands were slightly cold. Today, humanity would meet the galaxy for the first time. "Captain, we are receiving a message," said Lieutenant from his station. He was young, with a serious face and sharp eyes that noticed everything. "They want us to stop and wait for inspection." "Tell them we will do exactly as they ask," said quietly. "And make sure everyone remembers the plan. We are guests here, we are small, we are humble." The inspection ships arrived within the hour. They were 10 times bigger than the Olive Branch. Alien soldiers came aboard wearing armor that looked like it could stop any weapon Earth had ever made. They walked through the human ship like it was a toy. They laughed at the simple computers. They touched the walls and made jokes in their language. Ambassador hand-greeted them with a deep bow. She was an older woman with gray hair and a gentle smile. She had spent her whole life studying how to talk to difficult people. Now she would talk to difficult aliens. "Welcome to our humble vessel," said through the translation device. "We are honored by your presence." The lead inspector was a creature called a. He stood 8 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His people had ruled the galaxy's military for 40,000 years. He looked at like she was an insect. "Your technology is primitive," he said. "Your weapons are weak. Your ship is slow. Why should the Confederation accept species like you?" Kept smiling. "We have much to learn from the great civilizations of the galaxy. We only wish to trade and grow. We bring no threat to anyone." The inspector laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "No threat, I can see that clearly. Very well, you may proceed to the station. Try not to break anything, little humans." After they left's face was red with anger. "Captain, did you hear how he spoke to us? He treated us like animals." Put her hand on his shoulder. "Yes, I heard, and that is exactly what we want." Looked confused. "We want them to insult us. We want them to underestimate us," said. "Let them think we are weak. Let them think we are nothing. Courtesy costs us nothing, but war would cost us everything. We are new here. We do not know their strengths. We do not know their weaknesses, so we watch. We learn. We wait." The next few weeks were difficult for the human delegation. At every meeting, the powerful species looked down on them. The Empire especially seemed to enjoy making humans feel small. At one dinner, a general pushed Ambassador aside to take her seat. She simply smiled and found another chair. "The humans are like trained pets," the general announced to the room. "So polite, so obedient. Perhaps we should keep some on our ships for entertainment." The room filled with alien laughter. Laughed too, as if she found the joke funny. But under the table her hands were tight fists. The treaties they signed were not fair. Humans would pay higher trade fees. Humans would have fewer rights. Humans would receive less protection. Every other species at the table knew these terms were unfair, but signed them all without complaint. "This is robbery," whispered to during one signing ceremony. "They are taking advantage of us because they think we are weak." "They think correctly," whispered back, "for now." On their last night at the station, called a private meeting in her quarters. Only her most trusted officers attended. She locked the door and turned off all recording devices. "Everything we have shown them is 30 years old," she said quietly. "Our real ships are 3 times faster. Our real weapons are 10 times stronger. We have technologies they have never imagined. But they do not need to know this. Not yet." "How long do we pretend?" asked. "As long as necessary," replied. "We are building something in secret, ships, weapons, defenses. When the time comes, we will be ready, but the galaxy must never see it coming." Ambassador nodded slowly. We are playing a long game. Our may be the ones who finish it, but we will start it with patience and courtesy." Before they left the station, the High Commander himself came to see them off. His name was Lord, and he was the most powerful military leader in the galaxy. He stood before the small human ship and smiled with all 3 rows of his teeth. "Safe travels, little humans," he said. "I hope your tiny world stays quiet and peaceful. The galaxy has no room for troublemakers." Bowed deeply. "Thank you for your kindness, Lord. Earth wishes only for peace." As the olive branch flew away from the station, stood beside his captain at the window. "Do you think he believed us?" he asked. Watched the station grow smaller in the distance. "He believes we are nothing. That is exactly what we need him to believe." She turned away from the window and walked toward the bridge. There was much work to do. In shipyards hidden inside asteroids, human engineers were already building the future. One day, the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity, but that day would come on humanity's terms, not anyone else's. For now they would smile, they would bow, they would be courteous. But they would never forget how they were treated. 15 years passed like water through open fingers. Humanity spread quietly across the stars, building colonies on distant worlds, trading with anyone who would trade with them. They remained polite. They remained humble, and the galaxy continued to treat them like dirt beneath their feet. Admiral stood in a room that did not officially exist. It was carved deep inside an asteroid, far from any trade routes or watching eyes. On the screens around him, hundreds of ships floated in perfect formation. These ships were not in any government record. They had no names. They did not exist. But they were very, very real. "The new engines are working perfectly," said Doctor, a small woman with tired eyes and messy hair. She had not slept properly in 3 years. Her work was too important. "These ships can cross the galaxy in days, not months. They have nothing like this." Nodded slowly. He was a large man with a face like stone. He had spent his entire career preparing for a war he hoped would never come. And the weapons. "Project Whisper is complete," said with a small smile. "One pulse can disable every system on an enemy ship. Engines, weapons, life support, everything. They go dark and drift. No explosions, no deaths, just silence." Can they stop it? They would need to know it exists first, and they have no idea. Far away, on a small colony world called 442b, Governor Minyu Ryu was facing a different kind of problem. His colony of 50,000 people had been blockaded for 6 weeks. Warships circled the planet like hungry wolves, allowing nothing in or out. "Our food supplies will last another month," his assistant reported. "After that, people will start to starve." Minyu stood at his office window, watching the alien ships hang in the sky like dark clouds. "Have we received any response from the Confederation?" "Nothing, sir. They say they are investigating the matter." "They have been investigating for 6 weeks. Minyu was not a military man. He was a farmer's son who became an administrator because he was good at solving problems. But this problem had no solution he could see. The had blocked his world because a human trader had accidentally insulted a merchant. The punishment was extreme. The punishment was meant to teach humanity its place. He sent another message to Earth. "Please advise, our people are suffering, we need help." The response came from Ambassador Han herself. She was old now, her hair completely white, but her mind was still sharp. Her message was brief. "Hold on, stay calm, do not fight back. Help is coming, but not in the way you expect." Minyu did not understand, but he trusted her. He had to trust her. On Earth, the United Council met in emergency session. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every nation, every colony, every human community in the galaxy. They had received news that made their blood run cold. Lord the High Commander had made a public demand. Earth must give up 3 of its colony worlds as tribute to the Empire. If Earth refused, they would take them by force. "This is an act of war," shouted one representative. "We must respond with strength." "What strength?" asked another. "They have 1,000 warships for every one of ours. They could destroy us in a day." Ambassador stood slowly and the room fell silent. Everyone knew her. Everyone respected her. She had spent 15 years swallowing insults and signing unfair treaties. She had smiled while aliens called her people pets and animals. "For 15 years," she said quietly, "we have been courteous, we have been patient. We have followed every rule, signed every treaty, accepted every insult. Some of you thought we were weak. Some of you thought we were cowards." She paused and looked around the room. "We were neither, we were waiting." She pressed a button on her tablet. The screens around the room lit up with images that made the representatives gasp. Ships they had never seen. Weapons they could not understand. Bases hidden in places no one had thought to look. "In 15 years, we have built a military force that rivals any in the galaxy. Our scientists have created technologies that they cannot imagine. We did not do this because we wanted war. We did this because we knew, one day, someone would force war upon us." Admiral appeared on the main screen. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with something like cold fire. "Every ship is ready," he said. "Every weapon is tested. Every soldier is trained. We have been preparing for this moment since the day that Inspector laughed at our ship." Turned back to the council. "The question now is simple. Do we continue to bow, or do we finally stand up?" The vote took less than 5 minutes. It was unanimous. On 442B, Governor Menu received a new message. It was only 4 words. "The wait is over." He did not know what it meant, but for the first time in 6 weeks, he felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was hope. In his headquarters, Admiral gave the order that activated the hidden fleet. Thousands of ships powered up their engines for the first time. Their crews, who had trained in secret for years, prepared for battle. "Today we stop being courteous," said to his officers. "Today the galaxy learns who we really are." Somewhere in the asteroid base, Doctor watched her creation come to life. Project Whisper hummed with power. She had built a weapon that could end battles without killing anyone. She hoped it would be enough. She hoped they would never have to find out what happened if it was not. The Armada arrived at 442B like a storm of metal and fire. 500 warships filled the sky, each one large enough to carry a small city inside. Their weapons could crack planets in half. Their shields could stop any attack the galaxy had ever seen. Commander stood in the colony's small defense center and watched them come. She was not a soldier. She had been a school teacher before the blockade. But when the real military officers had evacuated months ago, someone had to stay and protect the people. She had volunteered. "How many civilians are in the shelters?" she asked. "All 50,000, her assistant replied. "They are scared, Commander." "So am I," admitted. "But fear is no excuse to give up." Her communication screen lit up. The face of a captain appeared, his blue-gray skin shining with pride. "Human colony," he announced. "Your time has ended. By order of Lord, this world now belongs to the Empire. You will surrender immediately. Any resistance will result in total destruction." Took a deep breath. She remembered Ambassador's instructions sent just hours ago. Be polite. Give them one last chance. Then trust us. "Fleet," she said calmly, "we ask one last time that you withdraw from our space. This is not a threat. This is a courtesy. Please leave peacefully." The captain laughed so hard that his whole body shook. "Courtesy? You are 50,000 farmers with no weapons. We are the greatest military power in the galaxy. Your courtesy means nothing." "I understand," said, "but I had to try." She closed the channel and sat back in her chair. There was nothing more she could do. Now everything depended on whatever help Earth had promised. They began landing troops. Heavy transports dropped from the warships, heading toward the main city. On the ground, civilians huddled in shelters and prayed. Then something strange happened. A small ship appeared at the edge of the system. It looked like a cargo vessel, old and slow. The sensors barely noticed it, but Captain Lee, the pilot of that small ship, was smiling. "This is Cargo 7 to all units," he said into his private channel, waking up the children. His ship's hull split open. From inside, 200 drones flew out like angry bees. They were small and fast, painted black so they disappeared against the darkness of space. Each one carried a piece of Doctor's greatest invention. At the same moment, across the entire star system, hidden platforms activated. They had been sleeping inside asteroids disguised as space rocks, waiting for this exact moment. Dozens of them, each one pointed at the fleet. "What is this?" the captain demanded as his screens filled with warnings. Where did these weapons come from? He never got an answer. The drones reached the ships and released their payload. Waves of invisible energy washed over the fleet. It was not an explosion. It was not a laser. It was something the galaxy had never encountered before. One by one, the warships went dark. Engines stopped. Weapons powered down. Lights flickered and died. The mighty vessels that had terrorized 100 species began to drift, helpless and silent. "What is happening?" Lord screamed from his command ship, far away but watching through long-range sensors. "Fight back, destroy them." "We cannot, my lord," his officer reported. "Our ships are not responding, nothing is working, they are just floating." "How many ships did we lose?" The officer checked his data 3 times because he could not believe it. 487 ships are disabled, my lord. Only 13 managed to jump away before the weapon reached them. "Casualties?" "None, my lord. The human weapon did not kill anyone. The crews are alive. They just cannot do anything." Lord stared at his screen. In 40,000 years of military history, nothing like this had ever happened. They had lost battles before, but always with fire and blood. This was different. This was humiliating. On 442B, Commander received a message from Captain Lee. "Colony is secure," he said. "You can tell your people to come out of the shelters. No one is going to hurt them." His hands were shaking as she opened the broadcast channel to the whole colony. "Attention, everyone. The threat is over. We are safe. Earth kept its promise." She could hear cheering through the shelter intercoms, people crying with relief, children asking if they could go home. Then opened a channel to the drifting fleet. His voice was calm and polite, just like Ambassador had taught all of them. "Crews," he said, "your ships are disabled, but your life support is functioning. Medical vessels may come to retrieve you. We will not fire on rescue ships. Your people are unharmed. We did not want to kill anyone." He paused for a moment. "We have been courteous to you for 15 years. We have accepted your insults, your unfair treaties, and your bullying. We did this because we wanted peace, but you saw our courtesy as weakness. You were wrong." On the command ship, Lord listened with growing horror. "Today we disabled your fleet in 11 minutes, continued. "We did not destroy it. We did not kill your soldiers. We showed mercy because that is who we are. But do not mistake our mercy for inability. If you come back, if you threaten our people again, we will not be so gentle." The channel closed. Silence filled the command center. Lord had lived for 300 years. He had conquered 100 worlds. He had never felt fear. Until now. Across the galaxy, every species with a receiver watched the recordings of the battle. They saw 500 warships fall silent in 11 minutes. They saw humans spare every enemy life. They saw a power they had never imagined. And they began to wonder, if the humans had this strength all along, why did they hide it? What else were they hiding? The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The Galactic Confederation chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 200 species sat in their seats, staring at the holographic display in the center of the room. The recording of the 442B battle played again and again. Each time, they watched 500 warships go dark in 11 minutes. Lord stood at the speaker's platform, his 4 arms raised in anger. "This was an unprovoked attack," he shouted. "The humans committed an act of war against the Empire. We demand justice." Ambassador Han rose slowly from her seat. She was old and tired, but her voice was strong and clear. "Unprovoked. Interesting word choice, Lord." She pressed a button on her tablet. New images appeared on the central display. Documents, videos, audio recordings, 15 years of evidence. "Here is the blockade of Colony 7 in Year 2. 43 civilians died from lack of medicine." She pressed another button. "Here is the funded pirate attack on our cargo fleet in Year 5. 12 ships destroyed. 200 lives lost." Another button. "Here is your personal order to deny humanitarian aid to our drought-stricken colony in Year 9. The evidence kept coming. 15 years of cruelty, 15 years of aggression, 15 years of humans documenting every insult, every attack, every broken promise. "We kept records of everything," said. "We hoped we would never need them. We hoped the Confederation would protect us as your charter promises, but you did not, so we protected ourselves." Lord's face twisted with rage. "You hid weapons. You lied to the Confederation." "We developed weapons in secret, yes, because every time we asked for help you laughed at us. Every time we reported attacks, the Confederation said they were investigating. For 15 years you investigated. For 15 years our people suffered. So yes, we prepared for the day when we would have to fight alone." The chamber erupted in noise. Species that had been quiet for centuries began speaking. Many of them had their own stories of aggression. Many of them had suffered in silence, afraid to speak against the galaxy's strongest military power. High Arbiter, the ancient leader of the Confederation Council, raised her hand for silence. She was from a species so old that no one remembered when they had joined the galaxy's civilization. Her skin was like silver water, constantly shifting and flowing. "Ambassador Han," she said, her voice like wind through leaves, "your evidence is compelling, but I must ask, why did you not share this before? Why wait until blood was almost spilled?" Smiled sadly. "Because we knew no one would listen. They have ruled this galaxy's military for 40,000 years. Their word was law, their power was absolute. What chance did a small new species have against them? None. So we smiled, we bowed, we signed unfair treaties, and we built our strength in secret." She looked around the chamber at all the watching eyes. "We are not proud of the deception, but we had no choice. If we had revealed our true power too early, that would have destroyed us before we were ready. We had to wait until we were strong enough to survive. That moment came at 442B. High Arbiter nodded slowly. "And now, what does humanity want now?" The chamber fell silent again. Everyone leaned forward to hear the answer. Took a deep breath. "We want what we have always wanted, peace, fair treatment, the same rights as any other species, nothing more, nothing less." She turned to look directly at Lord. "We did not destroy your fleet. We did not kill your soldiers. We showed you mercy because we are not monsters. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want revenge. We want to live in peace." Her eyes hardened. "But we will never be victims again. If anyone threatens our people, we will respond. And next time we may not be so gentle." Lord slammed his fist on the platform. "Threats, you dare threaten the Empire." A new voice cut through the noise. It belonged to General Sira, who had been sitting quietly in the human delegation. She was a woman with short gray hair and the cold eyes of someone who had seen too much death. She had been the secret architect of humanity's military for 15 years. "It is not a threat," Sira said calmly. "It is a fact. At 442B, we used less than 10% of our full capability. We have more weapons, more ships, more technology, all of it designed specifically to counter tactics. She stood and walked toward the center of the chamber. For 15 years, your spies tried to discover our secrets. They failed. For 15 years, your analysts studied our public military. They saw only what we wanted them to see. You know nothing about what we can really do. She stopped directly in front of Lord. So please, Lord, declare war, send your fleets, attack our worlds. Find out what happens when humans stop being courteous. The High Commander stared at her. In his 300 years, no one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever dared. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. What could he say? His greatest fleet had been defeated in 11 minutes. His soldiers had been spared by enemies who could have killed them all. Every strategy he knew had failed. For the first time in 40,000 years, they had no answer. Over the following weeks, the galaxy changed. Species that had feared them for centuries began speaking against them. Evidence of crimes poured into the Confederation from 100 worlds. Trade agreements were renegotiated. Military alliances shifted. And in quiet corners of the galaxy, ambassadors from dozens of species began reaching out to humanity. "We have been afraid for too long," one message said. "Perhaps it is time for new friends." On Earth, Admiral Park, now gray-haired but still sharp-eyed, read the messages with a small smile. "They finally see us," she said to General Sira. "They see our strength," Sira replied. "Now we must show them our wisdom. Power without wisdom is just another form of tyranny." Nodded, always said that, courtesy is not weakness, and mercy is not stupidity. "Was right about everything," Sira said quietly. "I hope she lives long enough to see what she built." In a hospital on Earth, the old ambassador lay in a quiet room, watching the stars through her window. She had given her whole life to this moment. She had swallowed 1,000 insults. She had signed 100 unfair treaties. She had smiled while aliens called her people pets and slaves. But she had never broken. She had never given up. And now, finally, humanity stood tall among the stars. "We did it," she whispered to the darkness. "We survived." 1 year had passed since the Battle of 442B. The galaxy looked very different now. The Empire, once the undisputed masters of military power, had broken into pieces. Moderate leaders sued for peace, retreated to their home worlds and closed their borders. Lord himself had fled into exile, hiding somewhere at the edge of known space. President O stood at the window of her office on Earth, watching ships come and go from the orbital station above. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and a voice that made people want to trust her. Before the crisis, she had been a university professor. Now she led humanity through the most important time in its history. "The Confederation Assembly is ready for you, Madam President," her assistant announced. Nodded and walked to the transport pad. Moments later, she stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Confederation, facing representatives from 200 species. "Thank you for inviting me to speak," she began. "1 year ago, my species faced destruction. Today, I stand here as an equal. This is not because we are strong. It is because we finally had the courage to show who we truly are." She looked around the chamber at the many different faces watching her. Humanity did not come to the stars looking for enemies. We came looking for friends. For 15 years, we tried to be good neighbors. We followed your rules. We signed your treaties. We accepted insults and abuse because we believed that patience would be rewarded. Her voice grew stronger. "We were wrong. Patience without strength is just weakness. Courtesy without power is just surrender. We learned this lesson the hard way, but we also learned something else. Strength without mercy makes you a monster. Power without wisdom makes you a tyrant." She paused to let her words sink in. Earth does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to replace thee as the new bullies of the stars. We want something different. We want a galaxy where the weak are protected, where fairness matters, where species help each other instead of hurting each other." High Arbiter leaned forward in her seat. "Pretty words, President O, but how do we know humanity will keep its promises? The maid promises too once." Smiled. "You cannot know, not yet. Trust must be earned, so I will make you a simple offer. Any species that wants Earth's protection can ask for it. We will not demand payment. We will not ask for tribute. We will not take your resources or control your governments. We will simply help you because it is the right thing to do." The chamber buzzed with surprised whispers. This was not how powerful species usually behaved. "In return," continued, "we ask only this: treat others as you wish to be treated, protect the weak, speak truth, keep your promises. These are simple ideas, but they have power. We call them the Terran principles." Over the following months, dozens of species requested Earth's protection. Many were small nations that had suffered under rule. Others were older civilizations that had simply been too afraid to stand against the old order. Now, with humanity standing beside them, they found their courage. Admiral Park, now commanding the Terran peacekeeping fleet, led missions to dozens of worlds. But her ships did not come to conquer. They came to help. When they tried to punish species that had allied with humanity's fleet stopped them. When pirates attacked trade routes, Terran ships hunted them down. When natural disasters struck colony worlds, human engineers helped rebuild. "I spent my whole career preparing for war," told her officers one evening. "Now I am using our weapons to keep peace. Strange how life works." Captain Lee, the pilot who had revealed humanity's power at 442b, now commanded a small patrol squadron at the edge of space. His job was not exciting, but it was important. He watched for any sign that they might try to rebuild their power. One night his sensors detected a small ship crossing into neutral space. It was old and damaged, barely able to fly. He moved to intercept. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," he called. The response came in a tired, broken voice. This is Lord, I request asylum." Stared at his screen in shock. The mighty commander who had threatened to destroy humanity was now begging for help. His own people had turned against him. His allies had abandoned him. He had nothing left. "Stand by," said. He contacted Admiral for orders. Her response was immediate. "Bring him in, give him medical care, treat him with respect." "Respect?" asked, surprised. "After everything he did." "Especially after everything he did," replied. "We are not like them. We show mercy even to our enemies. That is what makes us different." Was brought to a human station and given food, medicine, and a clean room. No one hurt him. No one insulted him. He was simply treated like any other person in need. On the third day, President O came to visit him personally. Looked up at her with eyes that had lost all their pride. "Why?" he asked. "Why help me? I would have destroyed your entire species." Sat down across from him. "Because destroying you would not bring back the people we lost. Punishing you would not heal the wounds you caused. Revenge is a poison that hurts the person who takes it." She leaned forward. "And because I want you to see what you could never understand. Courtesy is not weakness. Mercy is not stupidity. We are strong enough to destroy you, but wise enough not to. That is the difference between us." Was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke in a whisper. "I ruled for 300 years. I conquered 100 worlds. And I never understood what you learned in 15 years of pretending to be weak." Stood up. "You have the rest of your life to think about it. That is our gift to you." She left him alone with his thoughts. Back on Earth, General Sira visited Ambassador Han in her hospital room. The old woman was fatting now, her body worn out from decades of service, but her eyes still sparkled when Sira entered. "I saw the news," said weakly. "Is in our custody, being treated with kindness." "Your teachings," Sira replied. "We remembered everything you taught us." Smiled. Did we do the right thing? Sometimes I wonder. So many years of pretending, so many insults I had to swallow. Sierra took her hand gently. We did the human thing. We tried everything else first. Violence was our last choice, not our first. And even then, we showed mercy. The galaxy is changing, whispered. I wish I could see what it becomes. You already saw it, Sierra said. You built it. Every treaty you signed, every insult you accepted, every moment of patience, it all led to this. We are not just survivors anymore. We are leaders, and we lead with the principles you taught us. Closed her eyes. Courtesy is not weakness, she murmured. Patience is not fear, Sierra continued. And mercy is not inability, finished. She smiled one last time and slept. In the Galactic Confederation chamber, President O delivered her closing address to the assembled species. Humanity came to you with open hands. Some of you saw weakness. You were wrong. We were simply giving you every chance to choose peace. Some of you took that chance. Others did not. But even those who fought against us were shown mercy because that is who we are. She raised her head high. We are not the galaxy's pets. We are not your prey. We are not conquerors or tyrants. We are Earth. We are human. And we have been watching, learning, and waiting for this moment. Across 1,000 worlds, species who had dismissed humanity as harmless finally understood the truth. The most dangerous creatures in the galaxy were not the ones who attacked first. They were the ones polite enough to give you every chance to walk away. And wise enough to build something better when you finally did.